Erased Destiny 2, The Knower. Chapter 2, The First Case. In an hour, Merigold arranged the clothes in the dressing room and the dishes and cutlery in the kitchen. Although a few cups broke, most of the presented set survived the fall from the horse's back, and Merigold was given the opportunity to admire the richly decorated porcelain for the first time. When one of the plates slipped out of her ossified fingers onto the floor, Merigold decided it was high time to go to the courthouse and warm herself up. Amanda was waiting for her outside the courtroom. She looked tired, very tired even, and Merigold wondered if the job was so exhaustive or Amanda had some health problems. Etienne gave her an answer. Both statements were true.
Judge Lester is not here yet. We'll have a lunch here, after the trial. Dinner on your own, fuel as well. As a knower, you can't commit any crime or you'll lose your job. Keep this in mind.
There is something that bothers me about the former case. After all, the bread was the property of the baker, so the beggar had no right to take it. Even though this one fell on the ground.
Amanda nodded her head. She looked around carefully, but no one was heading down the corridor, so she elaborated on the statement.
We are not allowed to speak in this way. In any way that would suggest doubting the judge's judgment. We can ask about the legal basis, although this is not welcome. Remember that our task is to help uncover the truth and nothing more. We should not pretend that we know the codex, even if we really do.
So what was the legal basis here? It happens so that I know the codex pretty well, and in the decree on personal property, there is nothing that could justify Ferdinand's actions.
Etienne didn't give up, despite Amanda's reluctance to provide an answer.
It is a local law. In Sintra, the city council passed a decree making the food lying on the ground the property of the city. That is, it is a common property. Therefore, the poor can feed on what they find, discarded leftovers. Of course, this caused abuse of another kind, you heard it yourself. Maybe you didn't pay attention, but straw mats have been laid out around food stands, stores, and stalls.
Clever solution. This prevents food from getting dirty and wasting. It's the door-to-door traders, like this baker, who are in the worst situation. He would have to build up the cart, and that would add weight. A stalemate situation.
Amanda nodded again. She was pleased by the student's shrewdness, the efficiency with which the girl drew conclusions and combined facts. She felt that she would make a good knower, as long as she restrained her natural curiosity at this age. In the court, it was better not to ask, not to inquire, not to go beyond the established framework. An obese, snow-covered man with a pronounced baldness, smoothly shaved, reached them. In the corridor, he slipped and arrived at the door of the courtroom on his belly. Amanda, in all seriousness, helped the man up.
I hope you are not waiting long. Cursed ice. On the way here I fell down 3 times. Come in, I'm already changing.
He disappeared into a side chamber and Merigold, without Amanda's explanation, guessed that it was Judge Lester. As before, she took a seat on the bench and waited for the trial to begin.
How many judges are there? And knowers?
3 judges. Knowers currently 7, not counting you. Every morning you have to come to the court and check the docket, whether there are hearings pending or you can take care of an ongoing investigation. We have so much work that it is not uncommon for us to forget our due vacations. The court also has 1 executioner, 1 usher, 2 cooks and a dozen guards. And 3 cleaners.
The entrance of the judge preceded the introduction of the 2 defendants and forced the knowers to stop the conversation in progress. As before, Merigold reviewed the men's memories to reconstruct the course of the alleged acts. Her concentrated, motionless face troubled Amanda, who thought it was stress that was having such an effect on the young knower.
Fairs, son of Kalinda, and Timon, son of Viviana. Is that right? Please tell us what happened.
We drank. A lot. And after drinking, as it is after drinking, we argued about something. Before I knew it, I was lying in the snow, with a bruised mouth.
Blurred by alcoholic fumes, Timon's thoughts did not help Merigold judge which of the men had started it, what they had argued about, or even which had suffered more in the brawl. So she listened to the testimonies to assess their veracity. However, it was difficult to adjudicate anything when the men themselves were unsure of what they were saying.
We were drinking, and Timon broke my arm. He hit me with a chair. Then I hit him with a bottle. And then I woke up in the street.
The incident was witnessed by the bartender. I would like to ask you to speak up.
The man who was called out stood up and approached the defendants. However, he stood at a distance from them, as if they still reeked of beer.
Gentlemen visit me regularly. They drink as much as they have enough money for. Last time they had more cash, so they also drank more. Around 3 in the morning they suddenly started arguing. They were babbling in such a way that it was difficult to understand. I asked them to calm down, then they started throwing pints at me. I hid behind the counter. Suddenly there was a slam, then a bang. I looked out and see Mr. Timon lying on the floor with a broken nose. Mr. Ferres tripped over him and collapsed into a chair. I quickly threw them outside to sober up.
Do the defendants maintain their mutual accusations?
The adventurers lowered their heads. They were ashamed that they had been battered by the wooden furniture. Each demanded that the other shall be put in the dungeon, but Judge Lester had other plans for them.
In that case, I sentence the defendants to 10 hours of community service collecting wood for bonfires in the city squares. For drunkenness and starting a brawl. That's all for today.
After lunch, Merigold and Amanda took their seats on the bench for the third time. Judge Phineas sat in his chair and rested his hands on his knees. He seemed paler than in the morning, certainly less eager to joke. Merigold prophylactically did not look in his direction.
Mr. Torden, Amelia's son?
That's right.
Merigold reflexively raised her head. Fortunately, the questioned Torden turned out to be a short, slender man with black hair and a mustache. He was certainly not the warrior who had taught her swordsmanship.
The victim is your wife. I know this is difficult for you, but please tell us what happened. Without your help, we will not find the perpetrator.
Yes. It was at noon. I got up late, went down for breakfast. My wife Lucretia was lying in the dressing room. Something was sticking out of her back. A long knife or something like that. She was wearing a white dress and this blood. Well.
The man's voice faltered. It was obvious that he was unable to make any more sounds. His hands clenched on the cane trembled, and his eyes wandered over the empty walls of the courtroom.
How did the murderer get into your house?
Through the window, I suppose. It was smashed. My wife's necklaces were gone, so it was a robbery. That is. She is dead. Lucretia. She was lying on the floor. Face down.
You were in the house and did not hear someone break the window?
I heard something. But I thought it was Lucretia who broke something. She was a bit clumsy. She had broken a vase a few days earlier.
The man's lies were so obvious that Merigold did not need to see his memories. To be sure, however, she did. The sight of Torden stabbing his wife in the back shook her more than the murders ordered by Jared. Why did he do it?
Besides the necklaces, did anything disappear from the house?
I don't know. Her necklaces were hanging on such a stand by the mirror. They were easy to spot.
Could someone want Lucretia dead? Did she mention something? Did you receive any threats?
I don't know. She was a quiet woman, she rarely left the house. We didn't talk much either. I was busy at work lastly, did not have enough time for her. I think it was because we are rich. It happened before that someone broke into our house.
Merigold saw Torden leave the house in the morning. He wandered the streets, considering various methods of getting rid of his wife. However, the cold was getting the best of him, so after walking a few thousand steps, he returned home. There, his wife was waiting for him. She brawled over a mistress someone had seen the man with. Barely had the first wave subsided, Lucretia brought up more dirt from their marriage, some card games, and spending money on worthless paintings. Torden said he bought his wife a gift and hid it in the closet, and when she started looking for it, he stabbed her in the back with a kitchen knife. He stood over her body for a moment. He packed a few trinkets into a bag, piled his old clothes on top. From inside, he broke the window, hitting it with a poker. He left the scene as quickly as possible, with the bag in hand.
Would you like to add anything else?
I would like to go home, if I may.
Please stay in Sintra until the case is closed. Thank you for coming.
Merigold saw Torden push a bag to some beggar, that it was clothes for the winter, and hastily moved away. When the man left, there were only 3 people sitting in the courtroom.
Knowers? What have you determined?
The accused lied.
Witness.
The witness lied.
She pretended that the gaffe she had committed did not make her tense at all. She stubbornly stared at the brown wall in front of her and made sure her face did not express any emotion.
More specifically? What was not true?
Everything except the description of the dead Lucretia and missing necklaces.
Amanda sighed and stood up. Merigold was doing exactly what she was instructed to do. She had not been prepared to participate in the investigation, but only to evaluate the statements of defendants and witnesses. She did not know how to cooperate with the judges.
I think he was involved in the murder of his wife. Maybe he ordered it.
We need strong evidence. Torden is a rich and respected resident of Sintra, and has never participated in anything illegal or even indecent. The guards confirmed his version: a broken window, a distinct lack of jewelry, a woman with a knife stuck in her back. At first and second glance, this looks like a robbery carried out during a poetry recitation at the town hall. Most of the neighbors went there, so there are no witnesses to the incident.
Since there are no witnesses, what could be such evidence?
Good question. Motive for the crime. We need to get more information and, during the interrogation, get Torden to confess. If he suspects that we have linked him to the case, he will flee from Sintra. Until we charge him, I can't lock him up. And without evidence, I won't indict him. Knowers, I leave this investigation to you.
He disappeared into a side room and Amanda followed him. Merigold sat in the empty room, considering how to go about the task. She heard Amanda's hushed but trembling with anger voice.
I'm leaving in 4 days, you knew that. We have no chance to solve the case.
Hidden in the shadows, Merigold approached the door behind which the discussion was going on. The memory of Etienne eavesdropping on Fidelis and Saskiel was intertwined in her thoughts with the words spoken by Phineas. At the palace, the crystal put a whole range of surveillance tools at her disposal, assisting her in peeping at her subjects. In Sintra, Merigold pressed her ear to the door.
That's not how it should be done. Ears of telepathy.
She sat comfortably in the judge's chair and effortlessly absorbed the words spoken in the adjacent room. Amanda's reservations and doubts, Phineas's laconic, somewhat ambiguous statements. Etienne got the impression that Amanda's presence bothered Phineas. It was as if the judge was looking forward to her retirement. For a moment, Etienne wondered if Phineas would be a suitable partner for her. Young, quite handsome, although of lanky physique, intelligent, witty, with a distance from himself and reality. If he could dance, perhaps Etienne would consider him. He was the first man, other than Topaz, to catch her eye since she took up residence in Merigold's body. Although the hunter was more to her liking in appearance, Phineas seemed to have a more appropriate personality. Impatient with Amanda's complaints and inquiries, Phineas put his cards on the table. Etienne walked to the door, waiting for the right moment to join the discussion.
It wasn't you, Amanda, I was referring to, although I appreciate your knowledge and meticulousness. If anyone can investigate Torden's house so that it goes unnoticed, it's Merigold. The youngster's appointment puzzled me enough that I decided to do some research. She is a mage, that we all know. But a mage of a very specific kind, able to talk to the dead.
Who spreads such rumors? I do not flaunt my skills. Torden killed Lucretia. They quarreled, and as she turned around, he stabbed her in the back. He robbed himself, if it can be said this way, and broke the window himself as well. That's not enough to convict him, but it's enough to warrant a silent elimination.
Now that the pleasantries are over, please talk to Lucretia. Or what is left of her. Take a look around their house as well. Find out why Torden wanted to get rid of his wife. Why did he kill her? If you found the necklaces, it would be even better.
Impossible. He gave them to one beggar, packed in a sack. Unless the beggar decides to sell them, we won't be able to find him. I hereby take this investigation and will see it done. I will keep you informed.
It took Merigold a moment to realize that none of the people talking to her could see her. They looked at the door she had entered instead of her, even though they could hear her voice clearly. Etienne looked into Phineas' thoughts. She was curious about whom the judge was asking about the new knower, what kind of person he was. Pilas, of course. Who else could give Phineas such a comprehensive characterization of Merigold? The old mage seemed very happy that instead of chasing the bandits, the girl would take care of the Cintrian investigations. She learned little about Phineas himself. He was in the process of building a house. He liked to spend his free time by the water, fishing. An unmarried, unengaged, generally shunning closer relationships with women. A man who preferred quiet entertainment. Etienne found him terribly boring.